and we're online. Here we are, friends. We are here from Carcassa. I am Jack. Here is Margherita Bleedingham. Follow our channel too. And here with us today is a special guest. Is Mike Lombardo from Real Splatters.
Buongiorno.
Yeah. Buongiorno and buonasera, because we are in the evening and we are in a different time zone, so different time, different space. We are traveling in time today, and we are going also in the future because we are traveling also in some week in the future because we are talking about Christmas, of course, and we are talking about the future films of Michael Lombardo. I'm dreaming of a white Doomsday. It's a long name. And here you are again. So first thing, I met Michael Lombardo at Cine Underground Fest 2 years ago, and it was a really great time. And in that occasion, I took the Blu-ray of the movie. In fact, there is a sign over the, I don't know I don't know how to point this. And can I also show something inside of this, because this is so great. This is one of the best discs ever. And but
I'm glad you like the Christmas cookie disc. That was the when we got distribution, that was the first note I had for the distributor. I said, I want to do all the artwork, and I already have an idea for the disc. I knew it was going to be the cookie.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So let's so introduce yourself, Mike, because I'm otherwise I will talk at your place. So introduce.
All right. My name's Mike Lombardo. I'm an independent filmmaker. I write, direct, produce, and do special effects. Some of them decently. I am also an author. I just released my first short story collection, Please Don't Tap on the Glass, and Other Tales of the Melancholy and Grotesque, which I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday, the short story, is in. It was originally a short story, and I made the movie I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday. Very clearly, despite actually being Italian, I do not speak Italian, and I live in America. But I got to meet you guys at Cine Underground with Lorenzo and Sarah from Dirty Tape Productions, and it was an incredible trip, an incredible time. They were playing a documentary I'm in called The Brilliant Terror, which is about independent horror filmmakers from Julie Kaufman and Paul Hunt. So we got to have our Italian premiere there, and we won Best of Fest, which was really awesome. And I got to meet super cool people. So I'm happy to be related to anything involving Cine Underground. Makes me very happy. So thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you to be here with us. It's a great pleasure for us. And you told about your collection of short stories. Is it possible to have it also outside the USA, or
you can get it on Amazon. I don't know if Amazon Italy has it or not. I'm not actually sure. But if anyone is interested in getting it, I have copies I can sell an autograph personally. It's just probably going to cost a lot to ship them, but I'm more than happy to do that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. We can. We know how to get it. And so it's the title is "Don't Tap on the Glass."
Yes, I can actually show you the book. I have it right here. This is, whoops, the book right here. It's actually oriented sideways, so it looks like a fish tank. Mm-hmm. And then if you look on the back, whoops, I can't put either the back. You're seeing through the fish tanks. This is the back of it. But yeah, it's very dark. It's got a lot of really sad. Oh, kitty. It's a collection of stories that range from horror comedy to White Doomsday, which is very dark and serious, to really gross, funny stuff. It's kind of a mix of everything, and there are story notes at the end of each one that I talk about the behind the scenes and why I wrote all the stories. So it's kind of like an autobiography if you want to learn about my sad life.
Let's talk about... Yeah.
Vogliamo fare anche una traduzione per chi ci guarda, magari?
No, diventa difficile.
No? Okay. Sorry. Okay.
We are talking about if maybe it's we can translate, but yeah, we already tried with another guest, but it's too complicated.
Ah,
Uh, anyway, let's talk about your life. I mean,
okay, go for it.
what I already know the answer, but why you wrote "I'm Dreaming of Doomsday" first of all?
Sure. So the short story "I'm Dreaming of White Doomsday" was written back in 2012, I want to say. My mom was in the hospital with stage 4 kidney failure, and we did not think she was going to make it. She did, fortunately, so that's why I can tell this story without losing my shit. Though I'm pretty sure at City Underground I still did cry a fair bit, if I recall.
Yeah.
But she was in the hospital, and it was obviously a very difficult time for me and my family, and I was one of the few family members that was in the area, so I had to kind of tell the rest of my family, like I would say, okay, the doctor said this, and this is what's happening, and I would fill everybody in, and I had to keep my mom's spirits up. So I kind of found myself in a weird role reversal when I was a kid, and my dad was in a really bad car accident, was in a coma, and my mom was working 3 jobs to support us, and we never knew how bad things were because she always made sure that we had Christmas, that we had birthdays, and she always was able to shield us from the reality of what was going on. And I kind of found myself in that situation as an adult, and to deal with the horrible depression I was feeling, I wrote this story basically about watching someone that you care about fading away and being powerless to stop it. So I based a lot of it on my mom and my childhood, and just kind of the idea that the older you get, the more you realize the world has teeth, and that the universe doesn't let innocence survive, that the naive magic of childhood will eventually go away and you will lose the people you love, and reality sets in, and how difficult that can be, and how important it is as an adult to try to preserve that magic for children. And that's what I love about Christmas, and that's what the movie is about, the Christmas magic and all the other depressing stuff as well. But so in a nutshell, that's why I wrote the story and then wrote the movie version of it.
And how it became from a short story to actually a movie?
So when the story was published originally in a book called A Very Strange House Christmas. It was a Christmas anthology, and it got very well reviewed. People really loved the story. I got the one review, I want to frame this and hang it on my wall. I'll never forget it. They reviewed every story in the book and said, oh, this was so much fun. The book was very silly and fun and like horror comedy, and then my stories at the end. And they said, and then I got to Mike Lombardo's story, and I wanted to slit my fucking wrists. And that was like a quote, and I was like, oh, I don't know how to take that. But I got a lot of reviews like that. A lot of people were like, this would make such a great movie. And I said, at the time I was working in a pizza shop, and I was like, how would I ever make an apocalypse movie, first off, let alone a Christmas apocalypse movie, and for no money? Like, I don't have the money to do this. And people kept saying it. So over the years, eventually I was like, you know what? Maybe I can do this. And I met a guy at a film festival locally, and he was a big fan, and he's like, hey, if I can ever help you with any movies, like, let me know. So I messaged him like, hey, you don't have access to like a dozen abandoned locations or anything, do you? We can film it. And he started sending me photos of pretty much every location we used in the movie. And it turned out that this guy, his name is Taruga, he was a urban explorer and photographer, so he would find abandoned places and take photos. And like, without him, the movie never would have gotten off the ground. We went on like a 2-day adventure going to all of these places, and I was like, holy shit, I can do this. We can actually film all this stuff. So we started doing that, and I started breaking it down. I'm like, okay, how can I make a movie for no money? And it took, I did not realize at the time that it was going to be this, but it took 3 years to make the movie over the course of weekends whenever everyone was available and I had money, which was not frequently. So the cast and the crew, somehow they stuck with it this entire time, and they believed in me, which I will never stop loving them for. And we would just get together and shoot bits and pieces, and I would collect props and build stuff in the weekdays after work. And then we made like the bomb shelter door, we literally made out of garbage. It's made out of an old mattress box spring, some styrofoam, and a PlayStation video game steering wheel controller. and bottle caps. Like and on the Blu-ray, there's actually a documentary called Armageddon from the Cheap Seats. We went day by day. You can watch the entire process of how we made this movie. We shot it for $10,000, which is not even the amount of money they would spend on coffee on one episode of The Walking Dead. So it was insane, and I do not recommend trying to make a movie for $10,000. That was a horrible experience, but it was a wonderful experience. But if there weren't so many people that came out of the woodwork to help us and volunteered their time, and when we ran out of money, Brian Keene, who's a really well-known horror author, he stepped in, and he became our executive producer, and he put some money into it. And then Jay Sorensen is a great friend that actually came to Cine Underground. She flew from Nigeria to go to Cine Underground, which was awesome, but she donated some money to keep us going, and there were so many favors that we called in. There was no way the movie could have been made without them, but we were going to make a short film originally, and then about halfway through, I realized that we had a feature-length film that we were making, and like, wow, I can't edit this down any further. Like, we were making a full-length movie, so I had a meeting with everyone. I'm like, hey, are you guys okay with sticking it out? And they said yes, foolishly, and 3 years later, we had a movie. So
that's a great Christmas story, actually.
It was a Christmas miracle.
Usually we don't do spoiler of the movies that we are reviewing during the maybe just in the end, maybe for the last part of the interview, maybe we can talk about the spoilers and the ending of the movie, because we must talk about the ending of the movie because we have a little chat about it. And let's talk about what's I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday about. I mean,
so I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday is about a mom and her 8-year-old son, and they are living in a bomb shelter after the end of the world. The movie does not tell you what happened at the end of why the end of the world happened. There's some I put clues in there. I think people, if you really look into it, you could probably figure it out. But it is the apocalypse. And they are surviving in a bomb shelter, and their food and supplies are steadily dwindling. And Christmas Eve is coming, and this mom is forced to make some very unpleasant decisions about what she's going to do. And really, it turns into a story about what you will do for the people you love when your back's against the wall and it's a no-win situation. So it goes to some very, very, spoiler, it goes to some very, very dark places, which we can talk about later, as you said. But I cannot stress enough that this is a very, very, very dark movie. People, I don't think, are prepared because the title is kind of funny. And the tagline, no food, no hope, no L, is a little disarming because they're like, oh, this is going to be like cheesy and fun. And then they watch it. Someone just left a review that said, I don't know how to review this movie other than to say that after the credits rolled, I stared at the screen in silence for 10 minutes. And then I had to watch my favorite comedy immediately because I felt empty. And that was a good review. They gave a very good score. But when we world premiered the movie at Nightmares Film Festival back in 2017, nobody clapped at the end of the movie. And it was the world premiere, and I was like, oh my God, I just completely ruined my life. Like, I'm trying to sneak out the side exit. I'm like, I'm humiliated. I go up front for the Q&A, and the lights come on, and everybody was crying. And I was like, oh my God. Because I thought they just hated it. And I was like, and then afterwards, people are coming up to me sobbing, talking about how they lost parents or loved ones, and they understand the movie, and it turned into a giant therapy session every screening we did. So if that gives you any kind of indication as to what type of movie you're getting into when you decide to watch this, it's not fun.
Because the thing is that go.
Yeah, no, it's actually good because you got an emotional response to your movie.
Yes, and that was a beautiful thing. And usually my past career was horror comedy. I love like Peter Jackson and Evil Dead. Like, I always want to do splattery comedy type stuff. That's what I love. This was my first foray into being like much more serious, which is the type of stuff I always wanted to do, but I wasn't confident enough in myself and my abilities and my resources to do something dramatic. And this was kind of the test to see if we could do it. And, it worked. So now I feel much more comfortable being vulnerable and expressing myself, as you saw at Cine Underground, where I sobbed like a child in front of a group of strangers.
Yeah. I remember. And the thing is that actually we are now because it's Christmas time, and we are reviewing some Christmas movies. So we reviewed which one was Christmas Bloody Christmas. We
Oh,
have
that's a great
rare,
movie.
Let the
we
right
have exports to do next
Oh,
week.
yes, another good one.
Then we'll have Violent Night, Violent
Very
Night,
good.
and actually the thing that is always that all these movies has in common is that they are, you know, they are happy. They are some kind of happy movies, because when it's about Christmas, even if it's an horror movie, you have to be happy, because in Christmas, or even the horror movies are happy. But
Yeah.
your movie, because your movie is the only one that actually take out your heart from the chest and make it and pulp it on the ground.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I have to say about this movie that one thing that actually that I liked is that you know, everything that because they this mother and child, they live in this shelter, and everything that there's in that shelter is really real. I don't know how
Mhm.
to express it. You know, for example, I remember when she tried to go outside to get some food. She take the, I don't know the name in English.
A
Sorry.
garden trowel, like a
Yeah,
little shovel for your garden.
and it's something that, yeah, I could have it like in my basement, you know,
Yep.
and yeah, I could have that, and I could have also the Christmas decorations, and I could have all these kind of things in my basement. And
Yes.
yeah, it's fucking real. And also something that that I liked is the dirt. It's 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 so it's so dirt, you know. Also the people are it's not like they are just fake. The dirt is not fake, they are actually really dirt. There are the nails also are dirt.
Yes.
And that's so great. That's a great detail, actually.
Thank you. That was. I'm a huge fan of Chud, Street Trash, the original Hellraiser, all the Hellraisers, but I love grimy, sweaty '80s movies. I love that look, and yes, absolutely the best. And I feel like as cinema went on into the '90s, we got a very like I don't think you have this in Italy, but it was called the W, like Warner Brothers, the movie studio. We had a channel called WB that would have shows like Smallville and like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that type of stuff, where it was very like attractive people in horror situations. And it kind of turned into like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, where nobody can look unattractive. Everyone has to be very pretty and put upon, like no matter what. Even The Walking Dead is like that. They have like a couple smears of dirt on their face, but otherwise they're very attractive people driving like brand new cars that look clean. I hate that. I want reality. I want it to look real, like they used to make movies in the '80s that were just like in the '70s, like so gritty and dirty. So every day we would do their makeup, and I would put the grime under, and I'd put hair conditioner into their hair to make it look stringy and greasy. And the mom actually wanted me to black out teeth, so it looked like she was missing teeth, and she was going to shave parts of her head. And I was like, no, 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 we're not. She's like, you know, like the radiation, my hair's falling out. I'm like, we don't have to do that. But it was the clothing they wore. They wore the same clothes. It was one outfit for 3 years, and that basement was actually a 200-year-old dirt cellar. It was disgusting. They stank so bad. When they put that clothes on, it was crusted with sweat. So that was real. And we all just got so used to it that, but when we would go out afterwards, like people would be like, "Oh my god!" Like, because they looked like. There was a time we took a picture of. I can't find. I hope I can find the picture and post it. Of the little boy Reeve. He was outside playing. The house we filmed in was a friend of mine's, and she had a son. So Reeve went out to play with her son, and I went outside, and the two of them standing next to each other. It looked like somebody took Reeve and put him in Photoshop and took the color out of him, like he desaturated. it looked fake. It was like he came out of Schindler's List and this other kid was in like Sesame Street. It was the weirdest thing because, you know, when you're filming like this, you get used to the look of it. But then when you're out in the regular world in the sunlight, it's like, oh my God, this is horrible. So I'm glad that you liked all the dirt. We ate all the props, everything. I hand aged all of it and painted it and dirted everything up. That was very important to me. I'm glad you appreciate that.
You have this feeling you're watching something real that is really happening in front of you. And you also have, you can feel the Christmas atmosphere and the apocalypse, even though you barely see it.
Thank you. That was another really important thing was the atmosphere and especially the Christmassiness because I love Christmas. Like Christmas, like a lot of people are like, oh, this is a great movie if you hate Christmas. No, I love Christmas. This movie was a love of Christmas and all of my memories of that. And I really hate when a movie has like, you know, like a stocking or like, you know, maybe like a little Santa decoration in the background, maybe some lights once and that's it. And they're like, oh, it's a Christmas horror movie. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You got to go for it. Like we spent so much time trying to find vintage Christmas decorations because the movie unofficially takes place in like 1995. Every prop is of that era. All the toys, everything, all the decorations are vintage. It's all the stuff I grew up with. And no one will ever know that because why would they? But it was very important to get the right Christmas look. I love Christmas decorations. So that's great. Thank you.
So actually, you put a lot of yourself into the movie.
It's so freakishly autobiographical, so much of it, which is not a good thing, I guess, if you think about the story. But it was extremely personal, and the short story is like that too. The whole "Please Don't Tap on the Glass," that whole book is incredibly personal, and I go into all the details in the end of each story with the story notes. But people are always shocked when I tell them like the reason I wrote White Doomsday, because a lot of people would be like, oh, this guy hates Christmas and he wanted to just make like a disturbing, like sad movie. But it's like, no, this parallels my real life. And I wanted to write a story that I think it's a really beautiful story about what a mom will do for her child. I don't look at it. I mean, it's dark, but I don't think that it's a mean movie. I think that it's very heartfelt in a weird way. And I don't know how much that comes through. That's for the audience to decide, but it's all extremely personal. Yes. Long answer to a short question.
Yeah. Actually, I was really surprised when I first watched this movie because we talked about that when we met, but you know. The Brilliant Terror and also how was the short movie The Stall?
The Stall, yes, I forgot The Stall was playing there as well. Yeah,
they are scary, but also they are not so dramatic. And actually, I really like all the sense of realism that there is in this movie, and also. I think that's what's special about Christmas. It's not because we know that we are adults. We know that Santa doesn't exist, maybe, and we know that there is no kind of magic that make people happy, and war is not stopping in the world because it's Christmas, and people do really bad things even if it's Christmas time. But the thing is what you can do with that and with your family, with the people that you love, for just once a year, just to focus to just to make you and other people happy, just to make you the best that you can, the best effort to make this happening, and that's just a real magic, more than than an action magic, I think.
And that's exactly a lot of the story for me was about the sense of magic that you have about the world when you're a kid. It starts to go away the older you get, and like I said earlier, that's how important it is for us as adults to try to preserve that magic, that innocence. And that's very much what I wanted to write a story about is, like I said, the older you get, the more the harsh realities of the world happen. But Christmas time is the one time a year that everyone hopefully is trying to, you know, get past that, and we can all just take a break from the world and be happy and you know, give gifts to people and say how much you care about them. And I say this all the time to people that it sounds like such a cliche, but tell the people in your life how much they mean to you. Don't wait just for Christmas or a birthday or an anniversary. Tell them, because there will be a time when you won't be able to do that anymore, and you'll wish that you would have said it more. And that's very much what I was feeling when I wrote this movie on the story, because I thought I was about to lose my mom. So I wrote all of this stuff, and it was great because she got out of the hospital and she actually worked on the movie. She was one of my set dressers. So a lot of the reality of the bomb shelter, that's thanks to her. She would go out to antique stores and thrift stores and go and buy props, and it was wonderful. All the Christmas decorations in the portrait studio in the living room in the beginning, that was 100% her. So it was great that I got to write this story about her, and then she got to be a part of it as well. That was really wonderful for me.
Actually, I'm really amazed that it took like 3 years to shot this movie. It's how could you be able to just keep it going for 3 years? I mean, yeah, it's amazing for me, you know.
A lot of bribe money. It was without a doubt, this was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. It was so hard because there were so many times when I wanted to give up. You know, making a movie is hard under the best of circumstances, but doing it with no money and stretching it out this long is awful, especially when, hey guys, we're going to be shooting again. They're like, all right, we're going to be in a place that has no running water, no electricity, and it's a 3-mile hike through the snow in the woods. And they would just be like, all right, let's do it. And they weren't always happy with me. Like, there was times when everybody wanted to quit, but they stuck it out because they're awesome people. And they were, you know, I started to show them, I cut some scenes together, and I'm like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're making. And they were like, holy shit, there's something here. And they believed in the project, and they stuck it out. And that, you know, like I said, I can't thank them enough. That was magic for me. Either that or I should start a cult because I'm really good at tricking people, I guess. I don't know, but they stayed through the whole thing. And here we are now. We're still talking about it 6 years later. So, you know, I think that's something for them to all be proud of, that they were part of something like this. I know I'm proud.
Yeah. You are right to be proud because it's really a great movie. And actually, I think that for many reasons, this is something unique. I'm not telling you this because I'm talking with you, but really the sense of realism and the thing that it's something about Christmas. There is magic. Actually, we are talking also about a it's also a post-apocalyptic movie, but anyway, it's so real. It's so dirty. It's so. Also, the feelings are really true. It's not you know, some kind of magic thing. It's like the feelings for a mother and a child, and for in a family, and it's really real. And that's something unique because you know, as you say, in the 90s, but even now. Movies are all about everything has to be clean. There must be the happy ending or maybe a bad ending, but you know, to shock the viewer. But this is actually, even if it's a fictional story, of course, it's so fucking real. And I really love it, actually. And also I want to talk about the special effects
Okay.
because actually you did everything about this.
Yes. So I did all of the skeletons, and I think on the Blu-ray there's actually a tutorial on how to make your own dirty, grimy skeleton. Which was cool. The famous skeleton in the bathtub that's all rotten and gooey was covered in chocolate syrup and water. So that was the skeleton that I made with, I took like plastic tarping from like a painter, and I used a heat gun and I melted the plastic onto the skeleton and painted it with wood stain and covered it in chocolate syrup. The bomb shelter door, I had already said, was made out of styrofoam and old bed parts. When Santa, well, spoiler alert to anyone who has not seen the movie, when Santa, his scene, we'll just say that, that was my first full head cast. I learned how to do, like, how to make a mold of somebody's head, and I made the head out of plaster that was hollow and filled with ashes and stuff so it would break, and that was the most expensive thing we did in the movie, and that was the most terrifying thing in the movie because I didn't know if it would work, and we only had 2 shots at it, and fortunately it worked. But I did that. I did all the grime on the actors. I did the gory skeleton that they find later. All that stuff is still sitting in my living room. It's on display year round. I usually put the skeleton family from the postcard. I put that in the window every year. It's facing out so my neighbors can see it when they walk by. But yeah, so I'm self-taught special effects artist. I learned how to do all this stuff myself, which some people would say is very obvious. But it was weird because I always thought my first feature-length movie would be like a complete splatter fest, like tons of gore, because that's usually what I do, and it didn't fit the story. So there's only a few moments of violence and blood. I tried to make the few moments there are as impactful as possible. Also, as a side note, there's also not a single swear word in the entire movie, which is really weird because I swear like a sailor constantly. Like, constantly. Every other word out of my mouth is usually a swear word. So that was a really weird thing I didn't even realize, but it just didn't fit the story. So that's the big thing for indie filmmakers out there. Don't put something in your movie unless it fits. You know, it's cool to have people getting their heads chopped off and guts spraying everywhere and blood and all the gore, but if it doesn't fit the story, then don't do it. And don't just put stuff in there because it's cool. Like, make sure it fits tonally or it doesn't work. And you can have a movie that's like bloody as hell, like Dead Alive or Bad Taste or something like that's great, but just make sure it fits the tone. And that's, you know, so Doomsday just was not very violent, but the few special effects we had, I really tried hard to make them, you know, as realistic as possible. You know, the one part that everyone freaks out about is when she takes the can lid to her wrist.
Yeah.
It's a single drop of blood, and people jump out of their seats in the theater when they see that. And that blew my mind. It's such a simple, tiny thing, but that was more effective than me disemboweling somebody with a chainsaw. It got a bigger reaction, that one little bead of blood, and that was a big lesson for me. I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, but
That's because you're involved in the story. You care about her, so you don't want her to get hurt.
Yeah.
And actually the thing about just to cut yourself with a can, it's something really it gets you in the dimension of the desperation. You know, she is struggling to find a way to make it end. And you know, the best that she can do is to cut with the can of the beans. I mean, it's so so depressing. Actually, you know.
There was a point during the movie when we were filming that scene, and there's that whole sequence, and I was talking to the actress, to Hope, and she's like, you know, I was telling her the headspace she should be in. Excuse me. And when we were doing that whole scene, there was the people that owned the house were downstairs watching us film, and they left. They're like, I can't sit down here with this happening. It was too much for them. And we're talking, and I realized, I'm like, we're making a movie where there is an extended sequence where you're trying to decide what the best way to kill your child is. And I was like, oh my God. And it just, everyone on that day was so heavy. Everybody was just so depressed. And it usually, like, you try to keep the tone on set very lighthearted and fun, but there was moments like that where it just became very real for everybody, especially when you're filming. That bomb shelter was real. Like, that's a real place that looks exactly like it did. And we're down there for 12, 13 hours. And like, you kind of get into that world and like, you're stuck there. And when we did the final scene in the movie, we did like one take of it, and I had to take a break, and I just walked upstairs, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I making this? This is awful. It was really difficult to do. Some of that stuff. As an interesting side note, the can lid that she uses to cut herself, it's a can of pineapples, and the reason for that was I had split my finger to the bone with a pineapple can lid, and I had to get stitches, and this huge thing. So I did that. I was the inspiration in the movie for that because I realized how sharp can lids are, and that was like a little nod in there for that. And the name of the pineapples, it says Escobar's pineapples. All the labels on all the cans are fake. We made all of them. They're all references to stuff. So the chili is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. If you look at it, it says it's Lone Star chili, and it said it's no secret, it's the meat. And it says a family tradition since 1973. Like, it's all Texas Chainsaw Massacre jokes. And then the pineapples, Escobar. One of the short stories in Please Don't Tap on the Glass is called Weekend at Escobar's, and it's about the drug cartel and snuff movies, and it's probably the darkest story in the book, and that was a little reference to the pineapple, so I put that in there as a little joke for those in the know.
Whoa, that's great. That's great. And yeah, because actually is what the movie is about. Actually, now you said it out loud like that, and actually, but it's like that. It's the story of a mother that is trying to to make it end the best way for her son. And whoa.
Yeah, it's heavy.
It's about good parenting.
Yeah.
And which was the most difficult part of shooting this movie?
Honestly, so at first it was doing the emotional scenes because like the first scene that we shot in the movie was we shot the mom outside, the scene when she first leaves the bomb shelter. We shot part of that first, the first day, and then the next scene that we shot was when she's leaving the bomb shelter and saying goodbye to the little boy. And that was really difficult for us to do because for me, I still wasn't sure if I could pull it off because I had never done anything like really serious before. And I was very scared. But then when we were filming that scene behind the camera, I realized I had tears in my eyes and everybody else did. And I was like, okay, I think we got something here. So, but it was just hard to be in that mood all the time to do those scenes. And then technically the most challenging part was all of the outdoor stuff because like the scenes with Santa Claus, when we first see him, that area, it was a 3-mile hike through the woods, and it was the coldest day on record in our state. It was below zero. It was, I can't even describe, it's when you get like that cold, you don't even feel cold, it just hurts, it burns. So we were out in the woods, we were waiting, like we had people posted to make sure the cops weren't coming because we were trespassing very badly. Like we were not allowed in that area. It was actually an old, it was like a hotel lodge that was out in the middle of the woods, and I guess it burned down, and then they demolished it, but they ran out of money, so they never cleared the rubble. So the ruins were still there. So we snuck in there, and we were filming, and we had do you guys have in Italy the chemical hand warmers, like the little packets that you shake and they get warm?
Yeah.
We had those. We duct taped them all over our bodies and then put like 5 layers of clothes on to try to stay warm. And our location guy, Taruga, he had a thermos of coffee that he was giving people in a little camp stove to try to keep us warm. Somebody kicked the coffee over by accident. It spilled. It spilled in a 3-dimensional lump. It froze instantaneously, and I said, okay, we're done. Like, we need to leave because I thought we were going to get hypothermia. That was, and like, it's so that when you watch that scene, everything looks very blue. That's actually what it looked like. That wasn't a camera filter. That was literally what it looked like because it was so cold. And I've never seen that before in my life. I read like the John Carpenter's The Thing, which is an infinitely better movie than White Doomsday, but when they shot out in Antarctica, like that's what it looked like for real because it's so cold and the way the sun hits. And I'm like, wow, this is nuts. That's true. It actually looks like this. So that was the most difficult part. And then outside of that was just trying to keep up the morale of everybody. Like, hey, let's keep going. This is going to be worth it. I promise. When I didn't even know if I was like doubting myself, you can only work on something for so long before I watched footage and I'm like, I don't even like this anymore. I think it's shit now. And, then, another six days would go by and I watch it again. I'm like, okay, this is okay. And then you start cutting it together and it's like, oh, wow, this is really good. Because when you're on set, it looks ridiculous. You've got people standing on boxes to get eye lines and, you're pumping blood with a garden sprayer and everything looks so ridiculous and stupid. But then when you see it on screen, it's like, wow, this is really effective. So that was the hardest part, I guess, was just keeping motivated and keeping going after that long.
And the most funny time? if actually something funny happened, because I don't know.
So generally speaking, we had a blast on set. Like, it was a lot of fun. There was a time when we were shooting the portrait studio scene with the whole family and the dad, Damien Maffei, who was in The Strangers too, and Haunt and all that. It was right before he got all those roles. So he was down for us for 2 days. And we shot we had to have him done. So I told him to stop shaving for like 3 months. So he had his scraggly, gross beard, and he came down and we had to shoot all of the apocalypse scenes with his beard first. And then, so we shot for 16 hours straight. Then we had to make sure we had everything we needed, and then he had to shave, and then we filmed all the pre-apocalypse stuff literally 3 hours later. So we shot for like 48 hours straight. By the end of that in the portrait studio, we were all so sleep deprived and delirious that we were just like, somebody would say something like it would be the most random word, and everyone would just explode laughing for no reason because we were so tired. And then we ordered pizza, and the pizza delivery guy came, and there's like, I answer the door, and there's like skeletons everywhere, and everyone's wearing Christmas sweaters, and it's like August, and like we're all laughing hysterically, and this dude was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And he's like, "Here you go," and he just like went away, and it was so funny. And then the other hilarious thing that happened was, again, mild spoiler, at the end when Santa shows up, the line is, "Mommy, Mommy, Santa came." So we're doing this shot, and the kid's got Santa, and his first take, he comes out and he says, "Santa, Santa, Mommy came." And it's like, I tried so hard not to explode laughing, because I'm like, but I mean, he was 8. He had no idea what he just said, but like, I was on the ground rolling around in the dirt laughing because of this. We have an outtake of it, and everyone was just dying. And I was like, "Okay, buddy, let's do it one more time." So that was the highlight of the shoot for me, I think.
That's great. That's great. So I think that now we can talk about some some intense spoilers of about the movie.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So
let's talk about Santa.
Wait. Before going into spoiler, let's say to the people watching this where they can find the movie actually, because maybe they want to watch before hearing the spoiler.
Ruin it, yes.
Yeah.
So you can get it in. I'm not sure, again, if you're in Italy. I don't know if you're going to be able to get it off of Amazon. But it is available on Amazon. The best place to buy it from is screamteamreleasing.com. That is the distributor. If you search for the movie, it'll probably come up in Google, but they ship worldwide, I believe, and it's region free. So the Blu-ray can play in any Blu-ray player anywhere in the world. It is in English, obviously, but you can get it from Scream Team Releasing. And if you are able to stream with whatever means that you have at your disposal, not in America, you can watch it on Tubi. It is on Screambox, which I believe is attached to Shudder, if I'm not mistaken. It is on Amazon Prime. There's another one called Plex, I believe, is also streaming on there. And I think you might be able to rent it off of YouTube, but I don't know. But it's available streaming as well. Or you can reach out to me directly, and I can figure something out, and I can probably get a copy overseas if you need to. But it is available places, so that's the best place to get it. Or, go to the local pawn shop or thrift store. I'm sure you can find a copy there.
So let's talk about the ending of Santa Claus. Margherita.
Okay. So we have different interpretations about the ending of the movie, because let's see if I can explain. At the beginning of the movie, you see that the kid leaves the cookies for Santa. Okay, So when the mom prepares the cookies with the poison, I thought that she intended to give them to Santa because maybe Santa was the bad guy of the situation, and so she wanted to kill him for some reason.
Okay, interesting.
Okay. So this was my interpretation. And so when Santa actually comes and kills the kid, I was like, what is happening? Why is this happening? And I didn't get it at first. But then talking with Jack, I realized that maybe, as he told me, Santa just wanted to die in the apocalypse.
Okay, very good. That's I've heard a lot of theories. That's an interesting one. Okay, what about you, Jack? What is your interpretation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that actually the apocalypse occurred for some reason. The first time that I saw it, I thought that Santa was the reason,
Okay.
because he wanted to die. He wanted to be free from from the slavery to the kids of the world, and so he started to rampage and kill all the children in the world. So the people had to shelter themselves from Santa Claus. That's the first time that I saw it. But then I think that the apocalypse occurred for a reason that I don't know, maybe a war or something like that. And Santa Claus was just willing to die.
Okay. Okay. Do you want me to spoil things?
Yeah.
I will give you guys the full spoiler. I don't usually do this, but you guys are great, so I'm gonna tell you the way the world ended. The world ended nuclear. It was nuclear. When you watch the portrait studio scene and the photographer comes back, the wounded girl comes back as the photographer in her dream, because the whole point of that was that, and the reason the opening of the movie is so like over the top and cheesy with the way the mom and the dad are, and then in the portrait studio you kind of see the other side of it where they're kind of bickering. Those are her idealized memories of what Christmas was like. It's her sitcom memory, but her dreams, when you're dreaming, all of your anxiety and all the things happening in your life kind of morph together into this stew that just kind of come out, and that's her memories are being infected by the reality. So at the end, when they're bickering and arguing because she's so stressed out about what's going on, and in her dreams subconsciously, her greatest fear is losing her family. It's being alone and losing her family. So in the opening, her kid she goes outside and they're gone. It's desolation everywhere. And at the end, she turns around and they disappear again. And then her guilt is manifested as that backpack that she stole. And the photographer comes back and hands her that photo. And the photo is them as skeletons because they're all going to die. And she realizes that she's about to lose her entire family and she's going to be alone. So when the photographer starts taking the picture, she starts, when the mom screams, it turns into an air raid siren. And then each flash of the camera is a bomb going off, and that's just to imply that's what happened was a nuclear apocalypse. Which something that people ask a lot is the gas masks in the movie, because the mom takes her gas mask off, and there are people that don't have gas masks in, and when the mom goes out into the apocalypse without any protective gear, people say to well, she would just die. She's like, that's stupid. She would die. That doesn't make any sense. No, she is going to die. Absolutely 100% is going to die from radiation exposure. She's just a suburban housewife. She doesn't know. And there's no choice. So you're 100% correct. Taking off your gas mask, bad idea. She will not survive as the movie goes on. She's clearly going to die. They're all going to die. So that was the end of the world, was radiation, essentially, in a bomb. Santa, what I was going for, it's hard because it's partially literal and partially metaphorical. And in the short story, it's a little bit easier to explain because you see part of the story from Santa's point of view. But the problem I had when I made the movie was Santa can't talk in the movie because he's got the gas mask on. So I can't explain what's going on with him. But Riley is the last child left on Earth that still believes. This family, because the mom wanted to give him one last Christmas, she sparked up the Christmas magic one more time, and that Santa like you said, he's a slave to it. And Santa is the most wholesome symbol of innocence that I can think of. Santa Claus is the magic of childhood. And the whole metaphorical point of the movie is the loss of innocence and how innocence will erode and crumble the older you get. So Santa wanted to die because the world changed him. The world changed all of us the older you get, and there was no magic left. So Santa is on his way. He doesn't want to kill Riley, but he just wants to die. He can't exist. He's crumbling. His face is cracking apart. So he comes to the bomb shelter, and he feels awful about it, but he has to do this. He wants to die as well because there's nothing left. There's no hope left. So the little boy, the world doesn't let innocence survive. So the mom is trying to kill Riley. The apocalypse is trying to kill Riley. Santa is trying to kill Riley. The world will not let innocence survive. So when Santa comes, he wants to be free of this horrible burden of the world, which is, like I said, metaphorically, it's the death of innocence. As soon as Riley dies, there's nothing left in the world, so Santa disintegrates. He crumbles because there's nothing there. The cookies, this was a fuck up on my part. The cookies, the weed killer is green that she puts on the cookies, and I wanted to match the cookies in the beginning of the movie because they made the cookies and it all, there's a tradition. We save the first cookies for Santa. That was part of their Christmas tradition. When Santa is disintegrating, there's the green glowing embers in his head. That was not supposed to be weed killer. People think that's the weed killer, that maybe Santa ate the cookies, but that was just the Christmas magic fading and disappearing. But I didn't think about it, that color green would make people think that it's the same. So if I could go back in time, I would change that and use a different color. So that's confusing for people. But little Riley, he took the cookies, but he didn't eat them because he's that wholesome, he's that innocent that even though he's starving, he still wants to save these cookies for Santa Claus because he still believes. And then when that's the last shot of the movie, like in the original short story, the story ends with the mom, her spine is broken, and she's laying on the ground in the bomb shelter and she can't move. And she sees the note to Santa Claus that I saved these for you. And then there's creatures or something coming down the stairs in the story. It's a little bit different, but it's just one more little gut punch because like he still believes and she realizes that she didn't even do it. Like she didn't even kill him. And a lot of people think that it could be the mom invented Santa in her mind because she couldn't deal with the guilt of killing her own son, which I think is a really cool idea. And I did briefly think about that but I decided to go with it literally being Santa. Because in my head, I love Santa Claus and I have if you watch any of my old short films, Santa pops up all the time. It's a weird thing for me. But I wanted it to be like, and again, I don't know if you guys have these in Italy, but like American sitcoms and TV shows, there's always a Christmas special where the families are always fighting, and then at the end, Santa Claus shows up and he gives them presents, and everyone's like, oh, we actually love each other, and they all make up, and then Santa leaves. And then they're like, Jack, thanks for hiring that mall Santa to come here. That was really nice. And then Marguerite would say, I didn't hire Santa. I thought you did. And they're like, what? And then they hear sleigh bells. They look outside and they see Santa flying away. And like, what? And nobody questions that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my own Christmas special. Santa shows up and he puts the kid out. But so in my head, Santa was real. And he was summoned by that letter to Santa. They burned the letter because when I was a kid, we used to write letters to the North Pole and my mom would put them in the fireplace. So then the smoke would take them up to the North Pole. And so they didn't have a fireplace because he says, how are we going to get this if there's no mailman? And she's like, oh, don't worry, it's magic. And like that scene when I'm going all over the place now, but the hardest scene in the movie to shoot for me was when they're laying together after she thinks that she fed him the cookies. And he says, she's like, you better go to sleep. And when you wake up, there's going to be so many presents, you're not going to know what to do. And he says, will Dad be with us? And she's like, yeah, he will be. We'll all be together because she's going to kill herself that night and they're all going to be dead. And when they did that scene, we did it in one take. I was going to do close-ups, but they nailed it in one shot. And I walked away and I was like, I can't do that. Like, it was so hard because it was so like sweet and awful at the same time. And that's like the whole theme of the movie. That's the whole ending is that. And I wanted to show when Santa disintegrates and he just disappears, the mom's like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I don't even know what's going on. And then she snaps back to reality, and she crawls over to her son, and she's holding him, and she's just screaming. And something that I really, really hate in modern movies is when somebody dies, there's always this really dramatic music, and like they'll pick up the body, and then there's a lone tear that will come down their face, or there'll be like it'll be like a really beautiful shot, like something really poetic. And that's not how it works. That's when you lose somebody, you scream yourself hoarse. Like, there is no poetry in somebody dying. It's awful. We romanticize it later because we don't know how to deal with it. And I wanted to show what that raw emotion was like. When my dad died, I just screamed and cried until my throat hurt. And there's nothing else you can do. And that's what we did at the end of the movie. And it just stops because that's it. That's the end. People are like, well, what happened to the mom? What do you think happened to her? She's going to continue her plan. She's going to kill herself. Like, her son's dead body is laying there. Like, there's nothing left to do. And originally I was going to shoot her cutting her wrists and then laying with him as she bled out. And I said, what's the point of that? We already know what's going to happen. I don't need to do that for the last bit of shock. It's like, no, it's not necessary. But so there's all sorts of interpretations, though. I love the theories you guys have, and none of them are necessarily incorrect because it is very open to interpretation the way that it was filmed. But in my head, he's real. But again, metaphorically and subtextually, I think you guys nailed it. Like, it's exactly what it was trying to portray. And I hear a lot like Santa's got a hit list of all the kids and he's trying to kill everybody. That's a cool idea. I like that too. That would be a very different kind of movie. I've heard time travel. I've heard someone just did a podcast the other day I listened to, and they thought that Santa was death, like literally death coming, because he can find you no matter where you are. And I love that because in a way, Santa, his journey to find them mimics the moms. Like, they go through the same locations, just in opposite directions. And he is literally a symbol of encroaching death. The whole movie is about inevitability. Like, when you first turn on the movie, people are like, wow, this woman doesn't know how to survive at all. Like, they're screwed. Like, she's going to die. They would just die in that situation, right? And then that's literally what happens. It's like, yeah, what you think is going to happen in the first 10 minutes of the movie, that's exactly what happens. It's an anticlimax. You just have to sit and watch in real time as things get bad enough that they start to decide, what am I going to do with this? Because a lot of people then ask me, like, man, what would you do in this situation? And it makes people think and put themselves in a very uncomfortable headspace where it's like, what if this was me? What would I do? Again, what people will do for their loved ones in a no-win situation, I think that really shows what kind of person you actually are. If you would spend the last moments, the last resources of your life to try to make somebody happy or give them a peaceful end, I think that's a really beautiful thing to do. It's a really dark thing, but I think it's a really beautiful thing, and that's what I wanted to get across with the end of the movie. I don't know if that answered your question, if that was just me being pretentious, but
that's beautiful, but now I'm more depressed than before.
I'm sorry.
Actually, while you were talking, I realized that another thing that I really liked of this movie is that, and it's a reason that is a sort of unique movie. Is the people are not talking much. They are not explaining. There is no explanation. You just show what's happening, and that's something that I really, really love in movies. One of my favorite love movie is Three Iron. I think that is in English the title.
What's it called?
The Three Iron, the one of Kinky Luke, I think, the Korean one.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a movie that where the main characters, the couple, the people, the guys, the couple that fell in love to each other, they don't talk for the entire movie. They just do things. It's just for example, there is a shot where he's taking a picture of himself like a selfie, and she is just enter to the in the camera view, and it's just that you just understand that they are getting close, and yeah, and that's something that I really like also of this movie, because it's not like, oh yeah, that's how that we get that we got there, that's how the world end, that's what we are trying to do. No, you're not explaining, you're just showing. And that's something that I think that in especially in American movies, is not happening anymore. Especially in American movie, there is also this kind of trend that you have always to explain everything.
Yes, I hate that personally. I like mystery. I like when I have to think about stuff, but also I wanted to be very realistic with this movie. So if we were sitting here talking and there was a nuclear war, we would have no idea what happened. It would just be a white flash and everything is gone. So I didn't want the audience to know anything more than what the characters know. And if they're in this bomb shelter for 5, 6, 7 months, I guarantee that what they're talking about is not going to be, hey, remember that time the world ended? Like, that's the last thing they would be talking about. But in a movie, an American movie especially, you get like, do you remember the day that this, and then there's a big long flashback, and they go into every single detail of it. And like, when people would ask me at festival screenings, like, well, what ended the world? My normal answer is it doesn't matter. You don't get to know, because that's not the point of the movie. It's the apocalypse, that's it. That's the backdrop. The story is about this mom and her child. But people can't get past that. They need to know what happened. And it's like, if I told you that it was a virus, would it make it any different for you? Like, what would that change? It doesn't matter. It truly does not matter. But, you know, that's interesting. But I like that. And there's very little dialogue in the movie. Like, I feel like visual storytelling is very important. And especially in a situation like that, where it's just two people sitting in a room together, you'd run out of stuff to talk about pretty quick. I feel like in my experience, even my roommates, like, I don't talk to people all the time, because it's like, okay, we're both in the same room, but we don't need to speak, and especially give like convenient backstory and exposition every scene. Like, that's just dumb. They're just surviving. They're dealing with a horrible, horrible thing, and they're just surviving, and that's what you need to see.
Exactly. So I think that we talked about it, and I am really, really happy that we had you today, because you're a really wonderful person, and I really love your work, and so thank you to be here, because that's a great Christmas present for me. So thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. This was a blast. I'm really glad I got to meet you at Cine Underground, and I'm so excited that, you know, an Italian audience gets to see this. Like, this is just so cool. Like, I cannot wait to come back, and hopefully we can all see each other and hang out in person and talk about depressing movies again. That would be wonderful.
Say hi to Lucio also, that came. And so thank you very
so
much.
Thank you guys for having me. It was a wonderful time. Thank you for taking the time to watch the movie and invite me here. This is wonderful.
So for anyone that will listen and will watch also this episode, you can I repeat, you can find this movie, I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday, also on Tubi and Amazon Prime, and on Plex. But of course in America. Otherwise, you can buy it on
ScreamTeamReleasing.com.
Exactly.
And if you Google the movie, it will come up. The website will definitely come up.
That's the Blu-ray version, and is really great. So I will show again. There is the infamous biscuits inside, and that is great. So thank you, and I will search for your book, because
Excellent.
I'm really, really curious about it. That is Don't Tap on the Glass.
Yes,
I remember.
If you can't find it online, let me know. I've got copies here. And anyone who wants to find more of my work, reelsplatter.com. That's REELSPLATTER.com. and then bloodsplatter.com. You can find all sorts of fun stuff on there, all those short films and weird bullshit that I do. And I'm on social media, Facebook, Twitter. Find me, talk to me. I love chatting.
And we love to chat with you today. We loved, really loved. So thank you very much, and have a great Christmas. And thank you for all the people that will see the episode and follow us, put it like, and all this kind of stuff that you already know. And happy, Merry Christmas for everyone. So
Merry
thank you very
Doomsday
much.
to all.
Thank you. Stay here a little. I will close the episode in the
Sure.
So thank you, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Ho ho ho. Merry
Ciao.
Christmas. Wait. I have sorry. It just